Hey, what's up, folks? This is Daily Shaya, Daily Life, Daily Science, Daily Math, one day at a time, learning something new. Gonna start with some beginner algebra. Okay, beginning algebra. So I'm out of this book here called Beginning Algebra. It's an old book, but math hasn't really changed that much to my knowledge. So let's learn a little bit about what they want us to know. Let's see. The first concept is going to be something called natural numbers. And this is for math, not spelling, handwriting, or grammar. So what are natural numbers? Well, we use them all the time. It's numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, dot, 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 and so on into the sunset. Looks a lot like a whole number, but the difference is that a whole number's got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, dot, 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 and so off again into the sunset. And then we have a lot of other kinds of number types, but what we need to know to begin the lesson is fractions. And we use fractions a lot in daily life. We see them when we buy stuff. We see them when we have pizza with our friends and we want to figure out how much people get if we want to be fair to everyone. So like 1/2 is a fraction, 1/3, 2/3. These are all fractions. Even sometimes you'll see a bigger number on the top and a smaller number on the bottom. Those are fractions. So we have labels for these things on top. This is the numerator. And then on bottom, you may have heard these terms before, but now we can see what they are. Denominator. Oh, that's a minator. But basically, yeah, you just remember the numerator is the number that goes on top. Denominator is the number that goes on the bottom. It's sort of like, I don't know the etymology, but it's like the denomination or something. You could think of it that way. In the middle here is the little fraction bar. I've literally never heard of this called this because no one ever talks about what this is outside of this book. So I'm just going to erase that. But yeah, so, okay, it probably does help to define one quick thing. And that's that sometimes, erase that. Sometimes you'll see, and I'm going to use letters now instead of numbers. We'll be using a lot of letters. But like sometimes you'll see this, and we just talked about like what that is, the numerator and the denominator. And it's the same if you're going to put it into your calculator. You see this divider sign, the division symbol. So that's really just to help you understand that the order does matter when you type it into your calculator. And because if you were to put, something like, if you were to type in 7 divided by 15, you would get a different answer, right? These are not the same thing. These two things are not the same, right? Cool. So what are some other important terminologies that we're going to use? Let's continue down. There are things called proper fractions. And some examples: 1/5, 2/7, 1/10, 23/25. And basically it just means that the numerator is smaller than the denominator, right? So you'll notice like 1 is on the number line, 1 is smaller than 5, right? Or like 2 is smaller than 7. 9 is smaller than 10. Doesn't have to be by a lot, but it does have to be smaller on the number line. And you're noticing that we're not using like decimals in either of these. We're using natural numbers to make fractions. So if there's proper fractions, then there's also improper fractions. And if you're kind of already guessing what that might mean, it's kind of like where the top number is bigger than the bottom number. So like 3/2 would be an example. Or I shouldn't say bigger than, because it could even be equal to. So like 5 and 5 are the same number, but it's still an improper fraction because strictly speaking, 5 is not less than 5, 5 is equal to 5. And then there's 11, 7, 28/4. And we can do the same kind of picture as before where you've got 2, 3. So 2 is smaller than 3, but again, we're referencing starting from the numerator. So, you know, I'm not going to make a backwards number line, but you get the idea where the 3 is actually bigger than 2. So let's see. Yeah. Numerator less than denominator. Numerator equal to, greater than denominator. That's what those terms mean. And the N and the D just stand for numerator and denominator. Okay, more kinds of numbers. We're going to talk about beginning algebra. There's mixed numbers. And that's basically where you're going to have a fraction and another number that's not a fraction, but this is like one number. So sometimes you'll just see it like this. Maybe they'll be a little closer together to like reduce the ambiguity of it, but this is like one number. And actually all that this means is 5 plus a 3/4. Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit about how this works. Some people who've been studying math a little bit longer would probably look at the right-hand side and say, wait, is that really what that means? Yeah, it is. And we'll talk about how this gets added up, or like why over here it looks like it's like more like multiplying. And that's it. That's it for lesson 1. If you like it, keep watching. We'll keep going.